right?
When did you realize that you have to go beyond GPS?
It dawned to us during the 2021 bull run, where we realized that there is this new world that is starting to come up, which is the metaverse, right?
Deepen, where to be a superhero or an animal, what would it be? If you want to replace Aukey with Deepen, that's fine too. You're the guest.
I would say it's ants, an ant colony that has a single purpose towards building a home for their queen to reproduce. Don't be afraid of what's coming. Try and learn as much as you can with every new development. Don't be overwhelmed, be curious. Be an optimist, because this will change every single one of our lives. And now is one of the greatest times in human history for you to find a path, an opportunity to build something meaningful. Because now the building has actually become individual. We can all build the castles of our imagination on our own. We no longer need massive resources to do that. So go out there, be curious. You want to learn how all of this technology works so that it serves you and not the few. Nature is healing. There is something magical about just walking into a forest and just be in nature. There is this energy inside it that when you go there, it kind of just soothes you and it de-stresses you, because we're so one with nature. We all came from the same place. And
sometimes I've felt that maybe money is not the answer, because people are running towards money, running around money, running because of money, but also money also is not the answer, which is like, it's like a paradox of itself, right? I mean, you're running towards something, but that's not the end goal. So what do you think is the end goal? Santeri, tell the world.
Hi everyone, we are genuinely so excited to share something today that we truly believe will be a game changer for many small and medium businesses. Ever feel like you're missing out on opportunities while you're sleeping, busy with clients, or just trying to live your life? Your website has visitors, but most of them, over 97%, aren't engaging. That's a lot of missed connections. Imagine your website having a 24/7 assistant that can answer questions, build trust, and even schedule meetings for you. That's exactly what Zadwell's AI Chats offers. It learns your brand's voice and helps visitors take the next step, literally around the clock. This is about capturing those human moments, even when you're not directly there. Seriously, if you have a small or medium business, check this out.
Hey everyone, welcome to Pathfinders. Today we have a lovely guest, Santeri Aramo. Santeri, welcome.
thank you. Great to be here.
Yeah, I have to introduce Santeri properly. Santeri Aramo is a visionary entrepreneur out of Bali, Indonesia. Is a strategic leader serving as the co-founder and COO of Aukey Labs. He's spearheading groundbreaking advancements in spatial computing and augmented reality. With over 15 years of global experience in management consulting, brand management, and business development, Santeri has built a reputation for driving innovation and fostering collaboration across international markets. His leadership in developing the PostMesh, a decentralized machine perception network, positions him at the forefront of revolutionizing human AI interaction, solving billion-dollar challenges in industries like retail and beyond. Known for his sharp strategic insight, inclusive leadership, and commitment to decentralized technologies, Santeri is shaping the future of how we connect, communicate, and interact with the digital and physical worlds. Santeri, welcome to Pathfinders podcast. It's an absolute honor to sit down with you today.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for the introduction as well. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Would you mind telling our listeners today about your journey in your own words, please?
Sure. My journey is very much linked to the eastern part of the world. My first job ever was actually in Beijing. And so I'm very much spent most of my career out in Asia. And that's where I met Niels, my co founder, who you've also interviewed. We were living in Hong Kong at the time. That kind of stirred up some imagination in terms of figuring out how to help overlay AR on top of tabletop games. And we realized when we were doing this, we realized that actually there are many challenges to trying to overlay digital information on top of physical space. And the biggest one is how to see the same thing in the same place at the same time. Because for the game, the tabletop game that we were doing it for, Warhammer 40K, the players are very competitive. So what happens is they would need to both see the same thing in the same place at the same time in order to trust that the other person is doing the right moves, because what we were doing is trying to figure out how many steps and how many inches they could actually move on the tabletop. And so that challenge kind of gave us an incredible insight into what was coming, which is the age of spatial computing, the ability for robots to perceive the physical world and be able to navigate it with ease. And it started with tabletop games. And from there, it just turned into this mission of trying to enhance and, in many cases, replace the GPS system.
Got it. Got it. Yeah. What comes after GPS? That is a logic question. Before we get into spatial computing, Aukey, and all the lovely things, like how was your early journey, Sandra? Like paint us a picture. Like what was it like? How was your childhood? Where did you grow up? Were you always in Indonesia? How was all that? Like before you even got into the entrepreneurial journey, how was the entire journey from your childhood and everything?
Wow, that's an interesting question. I usually don't talk about it, so that's interesting. I'm a half Finnish, half Spanish, and I was born in Finland, mostly in the woods, because my father was a fighter pilot for the Finnish Air Force. So we would always live close military bases. And my mother is Spanish that followed him to Finland. And I have an older brother and a younger sister. So I had an incredible childhood in nature in Finland. And so my earliest days, it was a very happy kid. I'm still am. But yeah, in nature and in Finland. In high school, I actually moved with the family to Spain because my mother needed some treatment for her kidney failure. So we all moved to Barcelona, where I went to high school. And that kind of opened up a whole new world for me, where I was like,
Como estás?
yes,
I mean that's a
learning a
little
whole new
Spanish I
language.
know. Right, right. Yeah, yeah.
I didn't
Buenos
know
dias,
any
como
Spanish.
estás? That's all I know.
That
Sorry, go ahead.
that won't take you too far. Una cerveza, por favor. That's what most people know, like how to order beer.
I like por favor. Yeah, please. Yeah,
So
sorry,
I
didn't mean to
didn't know
interrupt. Please go
actually.
ahead. Yeah.
No worries. I didn't even know Spanish when I moved to Spain because my mother had to learn Finnish to talk to us and be able to like coexist in the Finnish society. So I learned Spanish when I was 14 years old when I went to high school there. And so that opened a lot of eyes for me where I realized, hey, you know what? The world is way bigger than a bunch of woods, you know? And that's where I started dreaming bigger. And by the time I hit university, I moved to London for 4 years. I went to university there and I was very determined. And this was in 2005, where my father was actually very clear headed with the fact that the sun is rising in the east and it's kind of setting a little bit in the Western hemisphere. The rise of China and Southeast Asia. And so he
Right.
said, you better learn some Chinese because this is going
Mm,
to be a big skill for you.
mm,
And so my first job was in Beijing. So I moved straight out of university. I moved to Beijing to become an art dealer. I was a Chinese contemporary art dealer. So I could learn how to speak Mandarin and how to do business with them.
right.
But there is this invisible glass ceiling in China where like if
Mm,
you're not Chinese or you don't speak it perfectly, they kind of won't let you in on the inner circle. And it's kind of hard to get a proper job unless you're an expat that was sent there. So you were kind of stuck. I was kind of stuck between the fact that, if I want to stay here and learn the culture and learn more of the language, I'm going to kind of have to be sacrificing my career. And I didn't want to do that. And
Wow.
so I moved. Yeah. From
Yeah.
there, I moved to Singapore.
To Singapore,
Sorry.
yeah. So before we even continue your journey, so I have to take a note. So you speak Finnish, and I'm sure you speak Espanol, Spanish, and now you have learned Mandarin. Ni hao. That's a little Mandarin. I know. My son taught me when he went to the Mandarin classes. Ni hao. That's the only thing I know, by the way.
What's up?
And now yeah. What does that mean?
Not bad. That means not bad.
Not bad. So now you're in Singapore. Continue. So how old were you when you landed in Singapore?
I was 25, I believe, at the time.
Got it.
By the
Yeah.
way, just to add, I also speak Catalan because in Barcelona they speak Catalan. It's a
Catalan.
very different language. A lot of people say it's a dialect, but it's not, because it has its own grammar, it has its own phonetical language, and its
Right.
own grammatical rules. So it's a language, and it's
Catalan.
way harder than
Got it. So that I've never heard about Catalan. So in Spain they speak both like Spanish and Catalan, is it?
They speak also Basque and Galician. So there are 4 official languages in Spain.
Got it. Oh, okay, fine. Catalan. Good to know. I'm learning. Like, to every person I speak, like this is the beauty I like. I mean, like, I speak to people from Hong Kong, and you're in Bali right now. This is what I learn, man. Like, I learn. Yeah, please continue. So you're in Singapore right now. What happened there?
In Singapore, I wanted to pursue a career rather than just be like a teacher or something and then trying to learn Chinese. And that's why I left, right? And
Right.
I went into management consulting in natural resources. And
Mm.
I spent many years in Singapore, 6.5 in 2 different stints. And then from there, the management consulting job took me to India. I lived in Hyderabad,
Oh,
and I
you did.
traveled the entire country. Yeah.
Mm.
I
Right.
traveled the entire country because,
Wonderful.
sorry?
Wonderful. I've been in Hyderabad at least I think a couple times, but I've known the place. I have friends from there, so yeah, good to know. Did you go to Goa to the beaches?
I've been to Goa. Yes, yes. And my favorite place is Bangalore because it sits on a
Mhm.
plain. It's a little bit higher than the rest of the country, so the temperature is a little bit cooler, and it's like the tech center a little bit.
Man, you must be kidding me. I lived there for 7 years in Bangalore. Yeah, it's kind of the mini. I mean, people would laugh, but it's kind of the mini Silicon Valley, if you will. But it's different. But you get all different hub of all tech companies and everything. Of course, Hong Kong and that Bay Area is very different. Yeah, lovely. So you've been to Bangalore. Yeah, that's amazing.
I hear that everybody I say this to, and I don't know if you think of this differently, but everybody says, "Oh no, it was way better before." I always hear this, where they're like, "Oh, now it's gone bad." Like they say, like 90s was amazing, early 2000s. I don't know if you feel the same way.
I mean, I feel it. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, every city has changed. It's not just Bangalore. I mean, look at Hong Kong. How was Hong Kong in the 90s, right? I mean, look at Bali, for instance. Like, how is the whole ecosystem has changed. I'm so fascinated by like what Balaji does. I'm sure you have heard Balaji and his network state, what he's doing in Singapore, right? So the world is changing. I mean, Dubai was different. Every city was very different. Even 10 years ago, it was very different. The Uber rides didn't work initially. Now the Uber rides are working better. So world is getting better, but at the same time, it's getting different. Yeah. That's fantastic. So you traveled India. So how was that trip? Like how since I'm from India, selfishly I'm asking that question. How was that overall trip?
It was very enlightening. I think that the culture is so different. Like just the
Mm,
belief and the way people live. Of course, you see a lot of poverty and it's kind of
yes.
tough. But one thing I've learned is that it doesn't matter how much you have. It's about your mindset and
Mm,
how you see your life.
right. I lost your audio.
Sorry, you're here.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah,
here
it's back.
now.
It's back now. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
So, like a story that always shocked me is that I remember a kid that had a bunch of brothers and was wearing this T-shirt that was completely broken and was passed down from his other brothers. And I was like, you might need another T-shirt, and I was able to get him a T-shirt, and he didn't want it because he was like, no, I like this one, where they were just literally content with what they had, and that was a very eye-opening experience to me, because ultimately what happens with the human mind is that when we get a taste of acquiring material things, uh, suddenly we just want more and more and more. There's no end to it. And that
Right.
is why money is not the only solution here. Money is obviously
Yeah.
very good to get
Right.
ahead in life and be able to
Right.
afford things.
Right.
But there's a certain point when you reach a certain amount of money, it no longer is the driving motivator.
No, I see a lot of posts in terms of like motivation and things like that, happiness, joy, and everything. Sometimes I've felt that maybe money is not the answer because people are running towards money, running around money, running because of money. But also, money also is not the answer, which is like it's like a paradox of itself, right? I mean, you're running towards something, but that's not the end goal. So, what do you think is the end goal, Santeri? Tell the world.
I think it's simply being content with what you have
Mm,
and having a greater purpose in life that drives you to keep on learning new skills. Not because of the money it brings, but the experiences you will get through those that journey that you take. It's
got
so
it.
much more about what you learn along the journey, because
Mm,
you can see trust fund kids having millions of dollars and having all kinds of problems mentally and insecurities because they didn't walk the journey that brought them the wealth. But if it's a
yeah.
byproduct, right? Ultimately.
Yes, yes, it is a byproduct. I can see that in page three in Hollywood and like over and over again. Yeah, I mean, like we can talk a lot about it. Like, I mean, like money doesn't seem to be the answer. Okay, fine. Like before we get into any of the in-depth topics, like so you were in India, you traveled the country, then what happened? What happened after India?
Well, I moved to Jakarta. That was 2013,
That's
where I
Indonesia,
continued.
right? Indonesia,
Indonesia is
right?
the capital. Yeah, that's the
Got it.
capital of Indonesia. I moved there to essentially do feasibility studies, asset valuations, and mergers and acquisitions in the area of renewable energies and palm oil plantations. So
Mm,
they had a lot of them. So I went deep into the rainforests to look at the quality of the soil. How could you build logistics to essentially bring some of the resources out into the market? But I got very tired of management consulting in general, because what happens is that you get exposure to a lot of very interesting people. You get to present some very, very interesting topics. But as soon as you've done your report, you've handed it over to management of the company who requested the report to be done, you no longer have any attachment to the project itself. You move on to the
mm,
next one. So
mm,
there's not as much compound knowledge and interest being built, because you always move on to a new client. You never see anything materialize. Everything is just hypotheticals, and I didn't like that. And
mm,
that's where I just moved away from that and went into fashion. I did a
mm.
big shift and I moved to fashion. And
That's a complete pirouette from management consulting to fashion. Okay, no, did you go to Paris?
no, I moved to Singapore because Calvin Klein, CK Calvin Klein, which is one of the affordable luxury brands for Calvin
Right,
Klein, was based out of
right,
Singapore for the
right,
Asian market. And I was heading
right.
the menswear product development there.
Mm,
And this is a
right,
testament to actually the fact that in life, it's not what you know, it's many times who you know and how can you convince them to give you an opportunity. Because I knew
right.
nothing about fashion,
Mm,
but somebody saw potential in me, right?
mm,
And said,
mm.
I'll teach you. And that's where I learned how to make clothes and sell them
Yeah.
across
What,
China and all of Asia.
what was the motivation like? Because like I've seen like many think what the quote unquote career is like in terms of like if you're in a big brand consulting. I've done consulting before. I was with Deloitte Consulting. We still do software consulting with our company, and this is a big shift in terms of like you completely went from the traditional quote unquote career type to you went to like complete creative type to an arts, like liberal arts kind of like fashion. So how was that pivot like? What was the transition? That must be someday. No, screw it. I'm done with this. I'm going to fashion. What was that pivot like?
So just to be very clear, the part that I did in fashion was not the creative part. I was the one who looked at numbers and said, hey, this jacket is going to sell
Ah,
really well, right? Hey, this fabric that we chose is very, very good. Let's take this fabric and put it into this shape. So there was a bit of
nice.
creativity, but it was driven by numbers. It was driven by
Statistics.
analyzing the sales in stores, what is working, what is not working, why is it working, how can we
Got it.
expand this line. So it was more about telling creatives, hey, this jacket works. Can you make 4 different versions of this with these different fabrics?
Got it. Got it. Got it. Makes a lot of sense. Yeah, because you brought all your corporate management consulting and a lot of that experience packaged into like, okay, fine. How do we do the brand? Like what sells, what doesn't sell? Business development beyond business. We are looking at numbers and the statistics and helping the company grow. You were part of the business, not part of the art or creation. Okay, got it. Understood.
I spent a lot of time with creatives because they needed that input in order to drive them towards the right direction. So I flew like 4 times a year to New York to just
Mm,
be with the Calvin Klein creative team, to like just be there and say, hey, these are the things that worked really well for us. What can you do with
right.
this information, right?
Right. Right. Love it. Love your journey already. I mean, like, it's so fascinating to even hear. Like, okay, fine. So tell me, like, so you're in Jakarta now, helping CK, Calvin Klein. What happened
I moved to
afterwards?
Singapore. That's where I moved back
Mm,
to Singapore. So from Jakarta,
okay.
I moved back to Singapore. And you asked me about the motivation. One of the motivations was that I didn't want to do something that repeats it, like it doesn't
Mm,
compound in terms of knowledge. Management consulting does compound in terms of knowledge, but not in terms of building tangible things with one thing, right? Here, it was the complete opposite. We had 4 seasons go at the same time. We were producing 4 seasons of clothes at the same time. So when the store, like when the clothes were in the store, we had something on sale, and then we were working on the next seasons already. So I was continuously taking the knowledge and the information in real time and adopting it into the new line that we were building. So you were essentially iterating on the same thing 4 times a year. So I went
right.
from not iterating at all onto the same thing, but moving on to different companies and different problems, to now trying to solve the same problem over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And that taught me a lot.
No.
It taught me a lot about,
No.
yeah.
Yeah, no, that is so fascinating to hear because, like, I spent a chunk of time in living in the US between 2013 to 2018, and we used to go shopping. Right, I've seen all the brands that you're mentioning, CK and so many other European brands like perfumes and dresses and everything. And I'm fascinated by the seasonal changes. Until November 30th, it's all still the fall kind of thing. And from December 1st, it's all the Christmas season, right? It changes. And it happens all over again. And right around March, mid-March, the spring starts again. The winter is done, the Christmas and the winter, and spring starts again. Then the summer, man, I don't, because the day before we would have gone to the same store, it would have been completely different. And I mean, it's all like, I mean, like folks like yourself, you have helped create this thing. And I'm fascinated how quickly the store changes overnight. It's like you go to the mall, the next day it's completely different. I mean, I'm sure like there's a lot of like back office numbers and like what works, what doesn't work, the new styles, and yeah, it's fascinating. I don't even know how the fashion industry works, but I'm a big fan of the whole operations of it. It blows me away every single time I think about it.
There are downsides to it, and you'll see a nice little career progression here, and you'll realize and connect the dots when we get to the end of this. But one of the
Absolutely.
things that I realized with fashion is that essentially making clothes is probably one of the most polluting things that we're doing.
Mm,
And there's so much wastage.
right.
The amount of products that are being wasted, materials that
Mm,
is being just thrown away by doing samples and coloring them and all that is terrible for the world and for Earth. And so I was not comfortable with that. That was a very unsettling part of the fashion business because it just has so much wastage. So I said, okay, how can I apply this knowledge that I've just learned in terms of merchandising and globally selling a physical good onto something that is less polluting? And that's where I moved to Hong Kong, and I went into the luxury watch business. That doesn't have a
Mm,
lot of wastage, right? It's very high-end watches. I was taking care of Omega, Rado, Mido, Hamilton, Tag Heuer, Bema Morcier, a bunch of different kind of mid luxury watches that were sold across duty free shops.
got it. Right.
That
Right.
was a very different experience, right? That was
Right.
just
Right.
how
No.
can you churn as many watches and
Yeah.
sell them to the Chinese? That was the
No, you made me think a lot because you were taking back to memory lane, and I was constantly like, wow. One side, yes, I was blown away just to that your notion of like the wastage part and how it is affecting the colors and the wastage. I just want to quickly respond to that is because yes, I agree, because what was available on the line on the aisle for 35, 40, 50, $100, once it's in clearance, because they're trying to get rid of that same clothing or whatever, it's available for 3 or 5 or $10. What was $100 is now like 5, 10, $15. I've bought stuff for $5. Instead of spending $100, like why not buy it for $10? It's human psychology. That's how it works, right? You buy new stuff if you wanna, but sometimes I have also picked up stuff from clearance. I used to think, so what is the real cost of this good? It's not $100. It's not $15. Then what is the real cost of this good? Then there's a ton of wastage, like you mentioned, and I hear all the time about like tons of clothing like dropped in middle of the ocean and things like that. And oh my goodness, it's yeah,
inventory is one of the biggest problems clothing retailers
mm,
have, because
right,
that's why they sell it so cheap. They rather sell it to you at a price point that might even just break them even or lose some money than having to store it in a warehouse,
mm, got it,
because it
got it.
piles
So
up.
yeah,
It
so they
piles
have
up
to get
very
rid of the
quickly.
stuff. They have to get rid of the stuff so that they can load the new inventory. So
Correct.
the revenue from new inventory is more lucrative than keeping the old inventory. Is that the fashion truth?
That is the truth. And I think the human psyche has kind of now figured out that when it comes to fashion, and because they move so fast, these different cycles, they need to essentially just create essentially the strategy that has been backfiring for fashion retailers right now is that they've discounted so much of their product in order to get rid of it, that why would you ever buy it at full price? So everybody just
Exactly.
waits for the discount, and
Right.
that puts even more pressure, right,
Mm,
on the
right.
system that they build.
Right. Right. I've actually in the last 3 4 years I've picked up an interest with with watches, but I don't wear it. I haven't. I mean, true story. I haven't worn a watch in the last 20 years. I got the cell phone and it seemed to have the time and it always reported it right. Then it was the Nokia some model. Then I thought, okay, fine. I already have the time here. I don't have a need for. The only reason I was wearing a watch was for the time. In the last 2 3 years, especially the crypto community and everything, I seem to have like a subtle fascination for the watches, but I haven't bought
Why
one.
do you think that is? Why do you think that is?
I don't really know. I don't really know. I think it's the marketing. I,
It's
I
a
don't really
status
know.
symbol. It's a status
Yeah.
symbol.
Yeah.
And what is easier to show than your wrist? You're constantly moving your hands
Yeah.
around.
Show yours.
So you have the status is right here. You don't even have to pull anything out of your pockets. You don't need to like, and it's discreet enough that people are willing to like just splurge on a lot on it rather than have like a big Dior sign or a LV sign here. You just wear a watch, and then whoever knows. Like, you don't need to attract everybody's attention. Like, you want to attract the other rich people's attention, and they will look at your watch and say, I know how much this one costs. And
Right.
that's why it also permeates into like Web3. It's a status symbol
Yeah. Yeah.
that is
It
easily
does
flauntable.
actually. Yeah, yeah. I've shared with my spouse, my wife, like, no, the next time I'm buying a watch, it's like I'm not buying a cheap watch. I have my personal goal. I mean, it's not a great motivator or to impress anyone, but just a personal satisfaction, I think. But I've told her, okay, I haven't worn in 20 years. maybe I have a personal goal. I forget the brand name. But I don't want to even say it because I will sound naive even if I spell out the brand name because I'm not a watch expert at all by any means.
One thing that goes down very well is if you pick a watch that actually has a backstory about some passion that you have. For example, for
Mm,
me, I wear Panerai. Panerai is a very nice watch that was used by the Italian Navy
mm,
to give it to the divers so that they could see the watch and how like the time and how long can they be underwater. And so I'm a big diver. I love diving.
got it.
And so that was the
Right.
connection for me where I realized, hey, this is the diver's dream watch. And that's a little bit better than saying, oh no, because it costs this much, right? Like you wanna you wanna have a little bit of a story. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I'll keep a note of that. I have to find a proper. I haven't crafted that story yet, but I'm sure I will after this conversation. But so please continue. So you are in the business of helping sell watches.
Yeah. That was
Yeah,
in Hong
yeah,
Kong. It was
right,
for a LVMH company, duty
right,
free shop, and
right.
we were selling watches across all over the world. But very quickly, I realized that what they do is like retail banking. I was looking at a massive Excel sheet and trying to figure out where should I push inventory to. And all I
Mm,
saw is the code for the watch. And all that mattered to them is how well did this sell? I had no
right,
idea what the watch looked like.
right,
And I was like,
right,
what is this? Like, what am I doing here? Right? I don't know what I'm pushing forward because all I see is the code,
right. Yeah.
for the model. And that made me realize they're not innovating at all they're doing is they're
Mm,
just pushing product that has been kind of proven to work and
mm,
then just try and sell it in mass, especially to the Chinese. And as soon as COVID came, their sales dropped dramatically because it was reliant on Chinese coming to Hong Kong and Macau and buying those watches and
mm.
then taking them home and showing what
Got
they
it.
have on their wrist.
Got it. Got it. And not many people are traveling either because they were locked inside the homes. And right, okay, man, COVID was my goodness, like that was it was eye opening for me. I watched a ton of podcasts through COVID. Maybe one of the motivation to even start this podcast. Like maybe I watched a ton of back to back. I learned about Bitcoin during COVID. It was really eye opening. As much as like I didn't enjoy COVID at all, but like the learning part I enjoyed. Like the Bitcoin, I saw so many podcasts around it. Yeah. So what happened after that? So right around you're in Hong Kong now. Then what after that happened after that?
So prior to the pandemic, I already realized that that was not what I wanted to do. So I had already had changed to another job, which was building authentic Italian gelato stores across Asia. And
Mm,
that was a very interesting experience because I got to build stores from scratch and import a product like authentic Italian gelato from Sicily. It was delicious. It was very, very good. But it showed me how challenging it is to bring a frozen product from Europe to Asia and then try and distribute it across multiple stores. I got to build
mm,
about 5 stores in Hong Kong. We had
mm.
readied 5 locations in Macau, 6 in Shanghai, and then COVID came and it kind of like shut every frontier and you couldn't cross the borders. That's where I was like, you know what? Maybe this is a sign. This is a moment for you to realize that there might be something else out there, but you're going to have to just abandon everything you know and forge a new path. And for me, I didn't know what that was, but I knew that I wanted to go back home to Spain, to Barcelona, to see how I could help my mother because she was still sick from my childhood because of
Right.
kidney failure.
Right.
So I went back home to essentially not being able to move into my parents' home at the time because she was sick and COVID was happening right at the same time. And so they were like, we want to be
Of course.
careful. I don't want you to bring it home.
Right.
So half a year before that, I had spent some time in Barcelona where I met this girl over Tinder. And we had 2 dates, and she said, I like you, I know you're leaving, so I wouldn't want to see you again, but
Right.
it was great meeting you. And so I contacted her when I realized I couldn't go into a hotel or my parents' place. And she said to me, "Why don't you come and stay with me and see what happens?" And on our
Wow.
third date, we moved in together. And I have
Wow.
not looked back since. I married her. We've been married for 1 year now, known each other for 5, and now we moved in to Bali together.
That's a fantastic story. I mean, like, yeah, you never know what happens. Like, right, with each person you meet, you never know what can happen with the world. But anyway, that's fantastic, actually.
So so she is a big entrepreneur, and she rose this passion in me kind of forcefully, because 3 months into our relationship, she was like, "These boxes that you just brought from Hong Kong cannot stay at home. We have to find a place to put them." And we started looking for self-storage units, but we realized they were expensive and they were all full. So she was like, "Hey, this is a business. We should build a self-storage business." And I was like, "I
Mm.
don't know. I'm not sure." Like every time I've thought of building something, I was like, "I'm not sure. Let me study this." And 3 months into our relationship, she just said, "You know what? If you're not doing it with me, I'm gonna go and do it with somebody else. So whatever, you decide."
Mm.
She
Mm.
FOMO made me FOMO into it, and I built my first business,
Right.
which I still run from my phone today because I made
Right.
it fully automated. Because I was like,
Right.
I'm sure I'm not going to stay in Spain forever, so I want to make sure that I can run it from anywhere. So in 9 months from scratch, we built a automated self storage business that still works and runs. That we both
Right. So how does it
enjoy
work? Let's
greatly.
let's plug your business properly. So what do you do with your self storage? So anyone can come like store any stuff in
It's open
Barcelona
24
or
hours. Yeah. It's
right.
open 24 hours. There are no people in the storage unit. And what you do is you put a pin in and you enter an area which is the loading and unloading bay. You have also a carport so you can stop there and unload your stuff. And then there's another door at the end of that. And the
Mm.
innovation that I made at the time was to make sure that it's not another keypad, because
Mm.
codes can be given out to other people
Yeah.
and they can walk in, right? So
And
I wanted to make
100%.
sure that we had higher security, because the area
Mm.
is
Right.
working class, and it's
Got
it's
it.
not the safest area, right? But that's
Got
also
it.
where the opportunity is, right?
Right.
And so I made an integration between the software management software that we are using for storage and the security to integrate fingerprint entry. So now only a person that I've recorded their fingerprints would be able to enter. We've had no problem whatsoever
Right.
in
Right.
the
That's
4 years of running this, right?
right. That's beautiful. What is it called?
Tukubo, Tukubo, which is
Okay,
your
you're gonna
box.
send. Okay, please send me the link to that. I'm gonna pin it when we publish it. So anyone searches, they'll see your conversation too. So yeah, go to self storage and store your stuff there. It's very secure. Awesome. So you're in Spain now. You've found your business. It's going great. What happened after?
Well, it was the time to decide and figure out how could I help my mother. And I got the blessing to be able to donate one of my kidneys to my mother. We did it through a very interesting process where
Mm.
I was the person offering a kidney to another person that had another healthy person that would give it to another person, and the third person would give it to my mother. So we create a triangle of
Mm.
3 healthy people and 3 sick people, and we rotated the kidneys between us so that we could have the right match for everyone. So
Wow.
my kidney went to a 30-odd-year-old girl in a hospital in Barcelona.
Mm.
Their person's kidney went to Portugal, and then
Mm.
the Portuguese person gave a kidney to my mother. And so I call it the Portuguese, right? I ask her, like,
Wow.
how is the Portuguese?
Portuguese kidney. Yeah. I mean, like, is it because of the blood group, the compatibility with the blood group of the person?
Yes. Yes, it's not just the blood group, it's the antibodies. How many antibodies have you actually produced?
Mm.
Because what happens is when you have children, you create antibodies. If you're injected with somebody else's blood, you constantly increase the barrier of being able to be compatible with just very uh, less mixed up blood and antibodies. And so it was very challenging for her to find a kidney. And because I was 35 at the time, oh, I was 33, sorry, I think. When I gave it, there was a lot of demand for it. Like a young kidney, it's a fully functioning kidney. In 2 months, she was on a waiting list for like years. And in 2 months, everything just went into place.
Wow, man! Like, I was not expecting this. I was not expecting I'd be talking to someone who donated their kidney like years just recently. I never spoke to a person who donated their organ on the show. You are the first. Like, you must be the first person on the show, and for me also personally. So I've heard people who have signed up for donating my eye when I pass away, or my parts when I pass away. Like, but I've never spoken to a live person. I think you must be the first, man. Like, kudos. I mean, like, it takes great courage. Yeah. Yeah. I'm thoroughly inspired even before we start talking about Aukey. So, yeah. Thanks for doing that. I mean, like, I'm sure your mom will, the Portuguese mom is going to be, gratitude is not the right word, but I'm just trying to look for what is the right way to even approach it. It's beyond being thankful, right? I mean, because you're giving away even though I know you can live with one of your kidneys, but still it's a big thing to do, man. Yeah. I'm fully impressed.
Thanks. I think that, you do a lot of things for love, right? My parents gave me everything, right? They gave me the education. They taught me to dream big, to be curious. And that's what brought me to where I am today, right? And so I have everything to be grateful to my parents, both of them. And if there's any way you can help, you should, right? And there's something special about being able to help when it comes to health, because most times we're completely like, we cannot help others that have bad health. If you have a cancer or a tumor, or all, you break your leg or something, like, you can't help them. There are very few scenarios where you can help and improve someone's health: bone marrow, blood transplant, liver transplant, and kidneys.
Right. Right.
So when this opportunity arises, you should stand tall and do it. And I was very clear from the beginning.
Right, right. Now, it takes a ton of courage. It's doing it is one, and the other one is like, I mean, you got to have the courage. Yeah, yeah. Amazing story. So, how's your mom doing, by the way? She's
She's
doing
doing
good.
well. She's doing well. It's her second transplanted kidney. So she's gone through a lot. I absolutely do not know anybody stronger than her. She is so strong. She's fought. She was ill before I was born. So you can imagine that it's a long journey for her. And I only have admiration for how resilient and strong she is.
Right, right. So the Portuguese kidney is working.
Yes. Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
Hi to mom. Hi to mom.
Hey,
All
Mom.
right. So that happened. So, what year is it? The whole situation of with your mom health, and what year is it? Is it 2022 or
2021, I think, at the end of
21?
2021.
Okay. What happened afterwards, Santeri?
Well, I kind of felt like we had done what was needed in Spain. We built the business together with my now wife, and we wanted to find a new challenge. That's what the curious
Right.
mind does. You're constantly looking for a new challenge. And this
Right.
is where Aukey took shape. I was in the background already helping with Warhammer overlays, AR overlays, and the company was called Minotaur Gaming at the time. And from there, we realized if we take the QR code off the table and we put it on the screen, we can actually patent this and call it instant calibration, which is the ability to create a shared coordinate system where devices can be tracked in real time with very precise positioning. And that's where we started to dream very big, and we got amazing funding. And this is where we just completely went into building Aukey and starting to replace the GPS. And
Got it. Got it. No, well, when did you realize? I'm sure, like, I've gone to many of these downtowns and things like that. And especially if you're driving or someone else is driving, it's very difficult to navigate. It's right around the corner. The GPS stops working, and I'm sure in Hong Kong it happens too with the GPS. It just stops working because of the tall buildings or what the reasons are. But it just doesn't work in a crowded high rise building area. It just doesn't work. When did you realize that you have to go beyond GPS?
It dawned to us during the 2021 bull run, where we
Mm,
realized that there is this new world that is starting to come up, which is the metaverse, right? There was this huge craze for building a virtual world that we either access through virtual reality devices. And we were like, hey, we can actually do the exact same thing using AR. So
mm,
building AR metaverse so that we all have a way to connect and have a shared sense of understanding of the physical world, yet be able to interact in the digital realm. And this
mm.
is where we're like, this is the moment. I think it is the convergence of technology together with the culture where things started to be ready for it. They were not as ready as we thought it was.
Mm,
Now, the beginning of 2025,
mm.
where Jensen Huang came out with
Yeah.
the his
NVIDIA.
CES. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's where
Right.
it's really taken shape. This is where I've seen
Mm.
exponential growth in terms of building uh, towards helping AI access the physical world.
Got it. So in terms of like accessing the physical world and spatial computing, the industry you're in, like how early are we, or how are we, like how accessible is it? Is it already democratized enough, or like are we waiting for the next 3 years? What is the time frame looking for the adoption of spatial computing, if you will?
So spatial computing already is used very much in a lot of scenarios. What
Right.
spatial
Right.
computing is essentially just having a camera that reasons about its place
Right.
and its movements. And we do
Right.
that all the time. Every time we open our phone, it overlays this little coordinate system that is temporary about trying to reason about its position. It uses SLAM, simultaneous location and mapping, to try and figure itself out
Mm. Right.
in the physical world. So it actually is happening across many devices already, but it's not being utilized to its full potential.
Got it.
And so,
Got it.
in order for us to truly see this come out, we need to build the underlying infrastructure and technology for it. And
Mm.
right now, we're at this race where centralized entities, big tech giants, are building these digital twins and using a digital twin to position you inside it. So, for example, creating a digital twin of this space, they would ask you to scan this space, load it up into one of their cloud services, and then they would say, "Okay, take your phone and start looking around for feature points, so that I know where you are inside that digital twin to position you."
Mm.
But this requires you to have your camera on all the time. It also requires them to have the digital twin of your home.
Mm.
And this is a scary future to go into. And this is the greatest motivator for us at Aukey, where we are like, we're realizing that spatial data will become so valuable that what we need to do is to build a way for people to map their own homes without giving the spatial map to big tech giants.
Got it. Got it. I just took a couple tweets of yours, like, and just to ask the question, I think it's the right. I mean, you said the internet gave us $3 trillion companies. The spatial internet will mean $10 trillion giants. And you said, like, good morning to the ones building the bridge. Aukey, like, explain that.
Sure. So what I think is coming, you could call it the spatial internet. And with all the kinds of revolutions that we've seen already, from the agricultural revolution to the industrial revolution, things changed dramatically. We were all farming the fields to then go into factories and producing so much more. A lot of people had to reskill themselves and figure out how to adapt to it. It was better for all of humanity, right? It helped us advance as civilization. Now, from there, we moved towards the internet revolution. And
Mm.
in that case, we built a parallel world to the physical one, right?
Mm.
And it has been wildly successful. I mean, we are using it today, right now, to talk, right? And where the greatest revolution of them all will happen is when you take this parallel world, the internet, and the physical world, and you merge it together. Once you
Mm.
merge this together, you get spatial internet and it will be the greatest unlock humanity has ever encountered.
Mm.
And this is where companies will no longer be like $3 trillion companies. They will be plus $10 trillion companies.
I
Because
was at
the economic unlock will be unparalleled with anything we've seen before.
Vegas, and I think it was a CES or a tech conference. I was seeing, I believe Siemens or someone, like I saw a demo, a prototype of like a digital twin. I think it was one of an airport or something. They were trying to, one was of a manufacturing plant, the entire manufacturing, there was a digital twin of the manufacturing plant. How are you going to build the next gigafactory or the next factory, like with the intricacies of the details of like where the machine is placed, how it is placed, how the people move around and things like it. And then similarly was an airport. I think they were trying to emulate that airport, as a digital twin. How does the digital twin and like spatial computing align? I mean, are these the same, or are they different, or are they can collaborate? I'm sure you've heard the term.
The digital twins and spatial computing,
Yeah.
how they
Yeah.
work together.
How they come together. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, spatial computing is the means of overlaying digital information top of physical space. And the digital twin is the representation of that physical space.
Right. Got it.
So it's the product. The product that comes out of using spatial computing is the digital twin. So spatial
Right.
computing is the technology. The digital twin is a product that comes out. Right? And in terms of some of the comments that you just made about factories and how will this be useful is imagine you're an architect and you're going to go on site and you're going to see a building that is completely bare bones and you just have the pillars and the basic shape of the building, but you now are starting to talk about where does all the air ducts go, where does the electricity lines go, and all of what's going to be kind of hidden inside the building. What we can do is we can take the different layers of the building in digital form and we can overlay it on top of the physical space, and then we can create gradients, meaning that you have the bare bones of the building. You use the QR codes to place the digital twin that you've created relative to the QR codes. And then you can say, okay, show me where all the pipes go. And then suddenly you start seeing how all the pipes, where are all the pipes going to run through. And this will help essentially build much faster, much more securely, because it allows you to visualize where you might encounter a problem. Like, for example, a hot pipe too close to an electric cable, for example.
Got it. Got it. Understood. Yeah. No, it is fascinating. Like, I mean, like, I don't know what will happen to all these like apps and so many other websites that we have today. I mean, like, I'm just pointing to something that you wrote. You said, like, I like how you phrase your tweets. Like, good morning to the ones who know that platforms built for screens will not survive in a world of machines. The next internet doesn't need pages or likes. You said like it needs positioning, perception, and presence. Spatial internet is the new interface. Aukey is the stack. Aukey is the stack beneath it, right? I mean, I think that's what we're all talking about right now.
Absolutely. So the critical layer that is missing today in order for machines to navigate the physical world is to have the spatial awareness layer. And this is what we're building. The ability for machines, and when I say machines, it's your smartphones, your AR glasses, your robots, your drones, your flying taxis, the smart cities, all of it will use a foundational layer of awareness, spatial awareness, which means where am I in relation to the physical world? And we're seeing this convergence right now where contextual awareness is being worked through these big LLM models now. You have Grok Vision and Project Astra from DeepMind that now have the ability to pull out the camera and point at something and then ask what it's seeing. But that's called contextual awareness, the ability to understand what you're looking at. And the other part is the spatial awareness, is where am I in the physical world? When you combine these, you will be able to build a much more robust and a stronger platform for AI to access the physical world. So physical AI. And
Yeah,
because
I
this
don't.
spatial awareness, Just very quickly, that to also point out that the spatial awareness layer will be the one that will be transmitting a lot of the spatial data across devices and servers. So this is the critical layer that we need to figure out how to build responsibly. Because
Mm,
if we follow the current model that big tech companies have been doing, is monetizing our data. They're now
mm,
salivating on the fact that they could build the spatial awareness layer and capture all the spatial data. But
mm,
this comes at a very high cost for humanity. It's not
mm.
just privacy anymore. It's
Right.
also our cognitive freedom, because once they have the spatial map and they have the hardware that connects to that spatial map, they'll know what we're looking at all times. They'll hear what we're saying, and they also know how we feel, because they will have cameras looking at our eyes and our eyebrow movements. They'll know our heart rate, so they'll figure out a little window of opportunity where they can come in and sell some ad space while we are still figuring out why are we feeling happy, sad, or angry. That's
Mm,
that's where we lose our cognitive freedom as civilization. So that's the second
right.
point that is going to lose. But also, what does AI want to buy? AI wants to buy data, and the physical world is ever changing. So if you create a spatial map that gathers this data and you own it, you will be able to be the one who sells the data to AI.
Mm,
And that makes you a participant in the machine economy that is coming, because robots are coming. Whether we like it or not, they're coming. And we have to find ways to feed ourselves. And one way is to be in control of our spatial data so that we can sell it to AI. And so
mm.
there are many
Right.
things that are coming together here and reasons why we should be decentralizing this.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, we recently released a white paper on the topic deep in decentralized physical infrastructure networks. It's way, I think the scope and the mission of Deepen is way bigger than what IoT or the internet thing. It is of course an internet of things, but it's beyond the scope of IoT. It's beyond that. It's giving back control back to the users. It's putting the users back into the driver's seat than something else, right? I don't know where I heard this. Someone said that, like, if you're wearing the AR glasses, and if a few people are, like, two people are trying to communicate with each other, AR. So if you don't have the physical information that you're sharing between the AR glasses, you might be blinded without information. Right. So I mean, like, when let's say when some people are taking a walk in the park or something like that, and two friends are like talking, and both have the AR goggles on, and they're like seeing something like a creature or something on, like, through the AR glasses, and if they don't have the glasses, they'll be blinded without information, right? Whatever they, maybe it's a funny meme, right? Or it's a creature that's making like something, and so that is that. So which is very fascinating to talk about. Then on the other side, if like the Teslas or the future EV vehicles, I'm sure like they're thinking about it, and when they're doing a lane merges, how is the next, if you're like two cars are like coming together, how is the lane merge going to be negotiated? How that happens, because these machine to machine needs to talk to each other, the cars will communicate with each other, and of course you need a token to exchange. How are you going to negotiate that? That is a question. And you spoke about robots, and I forget the name of the Aukey robot that we have in the lab.
Terry McKenna.
Terry McKenna. Okay, so Terry McKenna, you have Terry McKenna, and I'm sure, like, I don't know, do you call it a he or a she? I've never addressed a robot by its name. Uh,
Well,
you call it
in
a.
this instance, the name comes from Terence McKenna, who's
Got it.
a very famous orator and did a lot of work in terms of imagining what the world would look like, and so many of the things that he's predicted are coming true. So we made it in honor of him. We called him in honor of him. So that's
Got it.
that's
Got
where
it.
the name comes from.
Got it. Got it. No, no, that's fantastic. So you have Terry McKenna, and like, I'm sure like Terry is like processing a ton of information through the robot, through the interface, through APIs and whatnot. Like, so where do we draw the line? Because that there'll be, because in the future, I can see that we'll be living with machines. We cannot avoid that. We will be living with machines. So who controls the machines? Like, for example, Teslas, for instance. I mean, I'm sure, like, I mean, Tesla has its own ecosystem, for instance, and we have our own. I mean, within the house, let's say the geography of the house, let's say it's your store or it's your home or something. These are things potentially we could control. But when we go to the larger world, and when companies try to adopt things like this, how does it actually work in terms of like giving? Because I've tried to understand giving. We are trying to give back control back to the users. We are putting users back into the driver's seat. Uh, where does it happen? Where does that, like, you see the fine line between humans, machines, and actually corporations?
It's a delicate line, and there are situations where it will be owned by corporations. It just makes sense, right? Like, it's not
Right, right.
about breaking the whole thing up and saying that everything needs to be owned by the individual, but it's about, like, the focus needs to be on the individual and the kind of spatial data that we generate, and how are we going to
Mm,
feed that into the spatial awareness layer so that machines can do a better job at navigating the physical world. We will always have companies like Tesla that comes out and builds the hardware. We as individuals will not have, we don't have the capacity to build hardware to access this world. And there is a requirement, a very clear requirement for us to have hardware in order to see the digital world. And
mm,
so, to me, the focus should very clearly be on the data, because the data
mm,
becomes the most valuable aspect. Hardware will be commoditized at one point. Just everybody, China is building so many robots. It's unbelievable. They have over 450,000 companies working in robotics and adjacent things, right? There's thousands of
mm,
humanoid robot companies and parts that are being manufactured in China. It's just, they're like over a decade ahead of the rest of the world. They're also the ones that are implementing robotics the fastest.
mm,
Despite South Korea actually has the highest ratio between robots and humans, but
mm,
their population is much smaller than China. And the other thing that China is doing is they're also leading in terms of the AI related patents that are being filed in WIPO, for example. Over 60% now of all AI related patents are coming out of China. So
mm,
ultimately, all of this needs to be built out. And to me, what matters the most is how are we going to interact with this?
mm. Got it. Got it. So, you guys are building Aukey, the post mesh network. Talk to me about the post mesh network, and what is the mission of like Aukey as a company?
Sure. The Postmesh, first of all, is an open source system that becomes the machine perception layer, which is the ability for robots to see the physical world. And the pose mesh means pose is one word, which is XYZ and rotation of the camera. And a mesh is a combination of those. And what we do is we update the poses, which is the devices that access the coordinate system and their position in real time. And we, as a company, have built the Aukey network. That is our pose mesh. You
Mm,
can go out there, Vijayan, and build your own pose mesh and call it the
mm,
Pathfinder mesh, right?
mm.
For example, if you
Right.
like, or the Pathfinder network, because we believe that all of us should have the tools to be able to build this. This is for the good of the humanity, right? It's for the betterment of civilization. And so ultimately, what we're trying to do is to give the power back to the user and
Mm.
give the ability for AI to responsibly access the physical world.
Got it. Got it. Very, very interesting. Got it. So let's segue into a different topic. Bitcoin. I just had a few bookmarks that I saw just today, just before the conversation, and I found it interesting and thought you might respond on it. Like, let me get that, or maybe if I missed it somewhere. Okay. Yeah, I think I have it. So let me show it to you. So I saw this picture from Robert Breedlove. He's a Bitcoin maximalist and whatnot. People know him from different shows and things like that. So he posted this like picture on Bitcoin, and he says like there's an on-off button, and there's humanity, and there's central banking and human flourishing. How do you respond to this picture?
It's an interesting one. Yes. I can see how banks have a dilemma in their hands right now, where they have created the currencies that are manipulated and controlled by entities, while Bitcoin is not controlled by anyone. And humanity is kind of rising up to the moment and uh, trying to push back on the control that central banks have. And I feel like we are on a tipping point right now where banks have realized, or the traditional finance system has realized, that they won't be able to shut this down. What they
Mm,
gonna have to do is to adopt it. Of course, that comes with its pitfalls as well, because if they now decide to acquire most of the Bitcoin out there, they will be in control of it as well. But
right.
what's interesting about Bitcoin is that it's it has such large network effects that you can't just go out there and try and buy all of it. Like it's worth over $2 trillion, spread out network that is hard to control. And also, the other aspect of this, which is very interesting, is that it requires a lot of energy to mine, which means that the things that can't be controlled by humanity will be things that require such enormous amount of energy to kind of like manipulate, will become the kind of, to me, like the north stars for humanity to follow.
Got it. Got it. I just had one more picture of the whole Bitcoin thing, and this is like Conor McGregor from Ireland. He said, like, I'm the first man to win two belts in the cage, first fighter to walk in as president. I mean, he's running for it. First president to put Bitcoin on Europe's balance sheet. Ireland leads, Europe watches, and all that. So, how do you think of this whole scenario? I know El Salvador has done it in the past. What is your comment on Bitcoin being on the balance sheet?
I think is a sign of acceptance. It's a moment where, like we just mentioned, central governments and banks have now realized that they can't fight this, so they better get on board. And seeing somebody like Conor McGregor take on all these things just reiterates the fact that we live in an influence driven society where it's no longer about your actual knowledge about something, but how influential are you, how many people can you convince to vote for you, despite you not really having any strong background or knowledge on, for example, how to manage Bitcoin and balance sheets, or how to become a
Yeah,
president of a country.
absolutely. And one last question on Bitcoin, and maybe we'll segue into a slightly different topic. I mean, this is a picture in 2010. I mean, today is the Bitcoin pizza day or something, right? So
Yeah.
someone bought a couple pizzas for 10,000 Bitcoin. Today's, I think it's worth probably billions of dollars. How do you see this whole like decade and a half from the financial crisis happened, Bitcoin white paper was launched, and someone buying pizza, and today is worth like two trillion plus the overall net worth of Bitcoin. How do you see this whole evolution of Bitcoin has been? What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think it's remarkable. It's absolutely incredible that we live in a time and age where something like this can just come out in a decade and a half, and has such an impact on humanity. Technology does not improve or increase linearly, it's an exponential growth like this. And now
Mm,
with AI, it's just going to go absolutely bananas. Like things are going to just go so wild that I believe it will be very hard for us to imagine what it would
mm,
be to live again in 2025 in 20 years' time,
mm,
because the world will change so much. And I would say that the important thing right now is to stay abreast despite the
Mm,
barrage of information and ways to kind of hear about these things. I think it's what's very important now is to stay on top of things, trying to understand what is this evolution, and an
mm,
opportunity will arise at some point where you're like, hey,
mm,
I have knowledge about a specific subject and I can apply this new technology to it. And this is where I
mm.
think one of the greatest opportunities ever will materialize for anyone who spends enough time trying to understand AI agents and Web3, and to me, robotics and spatial computing.
Got it. Got it. I just had another question in general because you have right through your journey. I was just like understanding you spent enough time in Europe between Finland and Spain. You've also spent considerable time in China, in Beijing and Hong Kong, and you've also spent time in Singapore. How does I've not been to Hong Kong or Singapore, although I have friends that I've spoken to them. I kind of understand the general outlook of it, but I just wanted to understand like the lived experience of it. So you have lived in the mainland China and also in Hong Kong, and I also hear in Singapore that there is a large Chinese population also in Singapore. So Hong Kong is one. The Hong Kong Stock Exchange. It's a huge commercial capital. English is widely spoken as well, although that is a problem. But in mainland, it's not as spoken as much. That's my understanding. I could be completely wrong here, but so you have Hong Kong and you also have Singapore. What's the difference between Hong Kong and Singapore? And just a quick sense of like, because there are also Chinese, if they want to, they have Hong Kong already. I mean, they also want to live in Singapore. Like, what's the main difference culturally, or like I don't know, the capitalism, socialism? What drives Singapore forward? Why do people want to come to Singapore versus because they already have Hong Kong? Like, so what's so compelling about Singapore?
Well, Singapore is another land of opportunity, and they have created a system that is very stable, favors financial, accruing financial wealth through building businesses, bringing them into their regional headquarters to Singapore. But I would say that the big difference, and Hong Kong is like the gateway for mainland China to
Mm,
operate with the rest of the world. That's what it's been for decades. When Hong Kong was handed over back to mainland China in 1997 by the British, um, it accounted for over 20% of all of GDP from China. Now
mm,
it's less than 1%. And there are cities that are bigger than Hong Kong. Like there are at least 10 cities that are bigger than Hong Kong right now. So it has lost a bit of its relevance because it served a very specific purpose. But I would say that Hong Kong is culturally very rich because it has a very, very long history, while
mm,
Singapore is this place where most people emigrated to.
mm,
And the country is very young. It's 50 odd years old. It's separated from Malaysia because most of the people who came to that island came from mainland China. They were escaping mainland China. And 80% of the population in Singapore now is actually Chinese. But the uniqueness of Singapore is that they figured out how to create a very stable government that allows big companies to access this part of the world, the Southeast Asia, very easily. And so Singapore is an extremely resilient nation state because they don't just rely on China. They're very close to
mm.
Indonesia and they're very close to India. So they have three of the five biggest markets in the world
Right.
that trade with them. The United States is a big ally with them, right? So
Right.
they are much more diversified in terms of how they built their system and governance, while Hong Kong is still very reliant on mainland China.
Got it. Got it. No, I cannot ignore Bali, where you're right now. Talk to us about like Bali. I mean, like my brother went there once. I've heard great beaches and like a lot of like startup culture evolving in Bali is what I hear. Like, to talk to us about Bali. Why do people want to come to Bali? Is it the beaches or is it the beer? What is it?
Well, Bali is not very well known for its beaches because there's a few volcanoes in this island. 100 kilometers or so, all of Indonesia actually has a volcano, and that's why
Okay.
it's called the Ring of Fire. and there's always
Okay.
one volcano erupting somewhere because we're very
Right.
close to a fault line. Bali has actually, the beaches are quite full of volcanic ash. And why people come here is because there are good waves. And so a lot of surfers started coming here from decades ago already. And I think the reason why Bali is very attractive is because since the pandemic, we have a few things that's happened. One, the
Mm.
ability to build and be ambitious with your career anywhere in the world. You're no longer actually locked in a physical location where you're like, hey, I must be in London to
Mm.
be able to succeed. I must be in Hong Kong to be able to do well in life or to have a good career. Now you can do this remotely. So that has increased the allure of Bali. And I
Mm.
also think that there's a breed of people who realized, very ambitious and very creative, and people that realized that actually I can be closer to nature, and
Mm.
I don't want to live in a big city anymore. And
Right.
I rather come and live in a place like Bali, where when you shut down your laptop, you're surrounded by rice fields and volcanoes and nature. And to me, that's very attractive. I'm finding a lot of incredible talent in this island. I've set up an office. We hired our CPO that is American, who lives here. We There are a lot of Web3 events happening tonight. I'm going to one that is bringing a lot of talent together. So I'm very happy to live in a timeline and in an age where we can do something like this, you know?
Got it. Got it. When I was speaking to Nils, he told me a lot of fascinating things about Hong Kong. I'm hearing similar things about Bali. In your case, I think both are fascinating cities. I mean, Hong Kong is a different breed, Bali is a different breed.
For
But
us,
man,
it
but when
makes a
you're
lot of sense. To be honest, makes a lot of sense for us to be in Hong Kong because we're helping robotics companies integrate their hardware with our spatial awareness software, right? So it's very important for us to be very close to the source of where
right,
the development and innovation is happening. So it's a central piece to our thesis to be in Hong Kong.
right,
And I'm
right,
very
right,
close, to be honest. Like when we started this company, we scaled up very quickly, and we built distributed teams across different continents. And the one big realization is that managing time zones is the most challenging part. It's not about
Mm.
being in the same room, but it's about how many hours do you overlap with your colleagues. And this is
Mm.
also a big reason why I moved from Barcelona to Bali, so that I could be in the same time zone as my team. And then I have a 5 hour straight flight to Hong Kong whenever I need to be there. So
got it. Oh, it's in the same time zone, but it's, you have to fly 5 hours. But okay, fine. Understood. No, the time zone definitely helps. But I didn't know it was that far. I thought it was probably an hour or two. But okay, 5 hours is a long flight. It's my I
no,
went
it's the
to
best
I've
time.
been
It's the best time because you have Wi-Fi, but nobody can call you.
yeah, I live in Canada, right? So I've been to Bogota, Colombia, a few times, and those flights are about like 5 hour flights, like 4.5, 5 hour flights. So I know the distance. So it's a huge flight.
It's
Um,
too short, to be
that
honest. I get
it's too short.
so much done. I get so much
No,
done on that flight.
I love it when I'm traveling to India, like from usually where I'm from. So my flights to India are like 20, 21 hours, 20, 21 hours. I have to either take a flight to either Frankfurt or Dubai or Toronto. So it's, yeah, 20 hours without blinking an eye. So if it's a direct flight, it's 16 hours. So no, I wanted to ask you a question about the business life, because like when you're running a business or navigating a business, you're in the leadership position or you're making different decisions. There are a lot of because I'm seeing that we have launched 2 AI SaaS products ourselves in the last 6, 8 months, and navigating the space is like, there's like, they call it in the Web3 space, they call it FUD, fear, uncertainty, and what is the other one? out, right? So there's a lot of like uncertainty when you're running the business. Like, what are your lessons learned when you're running a business, and how are you navigating uncertainty, if you will?
Well, I mean, uncertainty is part of life. If you look at my background and the kind of work that I do, I'm actually very much the planner and the strategist, and like get everything on paper before you go out there and do it. And what this experience has taught me is that it's much more valuable for you to go out there and start doing things rather than plan. And this is why we see in today's world where, why, like, I ask myself this, why the smartest people aren't always the richest? Because
Mm,
what happens is that if you have a prize up here and there's a maze for us to go through and get there, the smart person sits down outside the maze and starts planning. Hey, I must take a turn left here. Oh, then it must be statistically going this way. But the person that does goes straight into the maze. And what
mm,
happens is that the person that went in straight, they will encounter many problems. They'll go into dead ends and they'll come out of those dead ends and continue. So perseverance becomes the actual key here. While
mm,
uh, the other smart person is still planning, the other
mm,
person is having experiences, it's learning. And that's so much more valuable. You must learn and be comfortable with failure so that you can learn
mm.
from them, because there's no learning in success.
Right,
You did it,
right.
right? So
Yeah,
failure is the one that propels you and teaches you. So it's not the smarts, it's like, it's doing. And so I wake up every day and I look at my calendar, I look at what I've received, and I'm like, okay, what are the fires that need to be put down today? I had one
for the day.
before our call just now.
Right, right. Another day.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I
but
mean,
I'm
it's
still
life
I'm
of an
still very
entrepreneur.
organized. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm still very organized. I do massive amounts of lists. I follow. There's something really magical about writing things down and then being able to like cross it and say done. Right.
Mm,
This is
right.
that. I love that. I could do
Yeah.
it on the computer and write it down and have those lists. I don't want to. Paper and pen. It's just feel. There's this power to it where you're like, okay, this is the things that I want to do today. And when you cross it,
Right.
you're like, it feels satisfying.
Right. Right. No, my co-founder is exactly like that. He's from Texas. So he's like, no, I got to write it down. I mean, exact same thing. So here, and thanks for sharing about like the failure part, because like I so resonate with you on that, on that also, because like I see failure is not, it's not, regret is not failing. Actually, regret is not trying. If you didn't try, that's a bigger regret. I mean, that's how I feel about failure, because the lessons that failure teaches you, you cannot learn anywhere else. You cannot learn it from a novel's book or anything like that unless you try it. Oh, maybe, oh, this is how the videos are made. Unless you shoot a video and post it yourself, you don't know how, what things work, what doesn't work. So same with every strategy, every decision that you make. I'm not a podcaster at all, by any means, but I enjoy talking to people. Right, so we have done 25 shows now. I think this is the 25th show, I think. But I'm learning with like every conversation. Okay, fine. This is so, because I'm the one sitting behind the desk, and like the more I try, and this is what I learned. The more I get uncomfortable and try new things and fail and keep moving on. I mean, I'm fascinated by the teacher. I see failure as a teacher to myself, if I have to paraphrase it.
That's
Yeah,
that's how your comfort zone grows, right? It's by
yeah,
coming
yeah.
out of it and feeling uncomfortable. And once you've understood it, it actually always is less scary or daunting than you thought it was. Our minds are always playing tricks on us, where
Yeah,
it
yeah.
makes this thing be so daunting and so big. But once you do it, you realize actually it wasn't so bad. And
Right, right.
not only that, our minds have this thing where we always think of scenarios and what could go wrong. But ultimately, over 80-90% of the things that we think never materialize, never happen. So we worry way too much in life. Yeah.
Yeah, 100% with you there. So I just want to invite you to another like AI session. So I'm going to ask you to say something, and we will draw it with AI. I mean, we're in 2025 after all. So let's AI let's ask AI do some work for us, and we'll have a question around it if you don't mind. Just gonna share. I'm using Grok a lot. I also like ChatGPT, but I use Grok also. So, what do you like to be drawn today, Santeri? Anything? Draw me. I don't know anything. The beaches, the Bali, the watches. You and I spoke about watches.
Let
Anything is fine.
All right, let's map this out. All right. Draw me a digital layer on top of a beach in Bali where you see the volcano in the background and you have several people playing a multiplayer augmented reality game.
Yeah. Multiplayer augmented reality game. Yep. Good.
And
Yeah.
so, and then, yeah, let's try this. Let's see.
Let's do that. Okay. Yeah, sure. Draw me a digital layer on top of a beach in Bali with volcano in the background, and you have several people playing a multiplayer augmented reality game. Okay, let's do it.
Let's see what it comes up with. But
It's fascinating. I mean, yeah.
by the way, just now Google, with its the latest release of the AI packages that they're coming up with, products, it's insane. VO3 is just mind-boggling what you can do with that.
I got to see that. People told me about the Google I/O, the keynote from a couple of days ago. I have to see it. I have to see the Google VO. 100%. Yeah. So
So
okay, fine.
so
Go
what's
ahead. Go ahead. You
happening
were saying
here
something.
is yeah. So what's happening here is that ultimately AI is biased. If you were to go out there and ask AI today, draw me a person writing with their left hand, and it most probably will draw you a person writing with their right hand, because the training data that we've provided AI is mostly biased towards the what is being given to it, and most of humanity writes with their right hand. So
Hmm.
there's always this bias, and I think that we have not yet really taught AI what does augmented reality really look like. Because right here you can see that it does not show us what we asked, right? We have people that are using some kind of remote, yes, and they're staring at something, but we don't have the digital layer. It's not representing any digital layer for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
It is biased.
it's still challenging for them to figure it out.
AI is biased, and yeah, I'm sure their current training data doesn't really know yet what we're talking about in terms of like the digital layer and whatnot.
So
The question that
do these
sorry,
videos
go
these
ahead.
days. I do these videos called Daily Spatial with Santeri, and you can find it on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, on my X account, LinkedIn, where I talk about the convergence of spatial computing, AI, robotics, together with Web3. And we do a lot of B-roll, and it's so hard to find augmented reality B-roll today. It's so hard because there's very little of it. It's so novel still. It's so new, and people still don't fully visualize the potential of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think even the AI video generators, I mean, we don't have it in like the stock photos. And the AI is not able to draw it. I mean, like leave the video alone. It's not able to draw it as an image yet. So yeah, it's still evolving. We can tell. The question I have from this picture is like, how important is nature, and what kind of role is nature playing in terms of like our everyday decisions when it comes to life, business, family, and other things? Like, how important is nature in our everyday decision making? That's a question I want to ask.
Nature is healing. there is something magical about just walking into a forest and just be in nature. There is this energy inside it that when you go there, it kind of just soothes you and it de-stresses you, because we're so one with nature. We all came from the same place. And I believe that it's been fascinating to see how humanity has conjured up all the things that we have, but at the cost of destroying nature ultimately.
Mm,
And
right.
so this is actually one techno-optimist take for me personally, where like I am so excited for us to be building digital worlds, because we can build our castles of the imagination in the digital realm, not in the physical realm where we have to dig onto the earth and bring out those materials. Now we can build them in the digital realm. So the next mile high building should be built in the digital realm, not in the physical realm. And that's
Mm,
exciting, because this will essentially will give us an opportunity to actually cherish nature and planet Earth and start helping it heal rather than keep on extracting from it.
got it. Got it. I just had a general question about like in terms of like success, because we are all running towards something as humanity, as leaders, as entrepreneurs. We are trying to solve a problem for humanity. We are all running towards I don't know success, or like how people define it, or goals or milestones or this quarter results and whatever. How do you define success, Santeri?
I think success is, to me, is being able to spend your time and your energy building and creating something that is meaningful to you and humanity as a whole. I don't do this for money. I do this because I believe in this. I wake up every morning and I say, I want to be doing this. I feel incredible being able to work on such a problem. And I think success is being able to work on your passions rather than be driven by other motives like money,
Mm,
for example.
right. Yeah. It could be a byproduct. That's how I often think. I mean, I'm okay to have the money to be a byproduct, but not the end goal. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure money will come, but like if that is a primary goal and the motivation, yeah, I'm not so fascinated by it. So I resonate with that also. A different take, and in terms of like general like quick question on like the world and the geopolitics and how the world is evolving. There's a lot of like, I mean, I'm in the camp of like bringing people together. I say that like what I believe in is like bringing people together, and I always think that unity is strength. The more people I speak to, whether it's like European, Caucasian, like Asian, or like African, American, all these different kinds of people kind of seem to need the same thing. They all want the same thing. They want a good family, a safe place to live, and a warm food probably by the night. That's all they're all looking for. Maybe a good place to call home, a roof over their head, right? That's all they're looking for. So in this whole realm of things, there's geopolitics and everything. The division has only seemed to be growing over and over. And how do you see this whole one side doesn't seem to come together with the other side, and people are pushed to be in a camp? You got to be either in the right or you be in the left. You're a capitalist or a socialist, or I don't know. And people are often they don't even marry these days if you're not from the say. Oh, if you're from the left, they don't do marry the person from the right. It's very rare that people come together. So how do you see that division in general, and what do you think the resolve is taking humanity forward?
I mean, that's a big problem that we're all facing. I definitely don't have the answer to this. How do we fix it? Because so much of what we consume today is fed to us through these very personalized feeds and channels, and so that's why we kind of are separating from anybody else's view that we disagree with, because the algorithm pushes us towards a situation where we get the things that we want, because that's how they grab our attention and that's how they retain us
Mm,
on their platform. And
right,
that's why, like, if your business model is to monetize attention and
right.
the individual's data, it's a very dangerous path to go down through. because it leads us to these silos of information where we are completely unaware of what's happening outside of our circles of influence. For example, they just did some studies where actually US's popularity is dramatically dropping. South Latin America, Europe, they're all starting to favor China more today. But you don't hear about this, right?
Right.
Because
Right.
a lot of it is controlled by Western media, which is then Western tech companies. A lot of them are driven by ulterior
Social
motives.
media.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of it comes
Yeah.
out of the United States, right? Even Russia's popularity is growing despite the war. I was shocked when I saw the data. I was like, how is this even possible? But that is what's happening, right? And so we must always go out there and seek an opinion that is not of our own and what we
Right.
believe in. So I guess the solution is for us to always ask ourselves, hey, what does the other side think of this? Can I put myself in other people's shoes and try to
Right.
understand it? But that's
Right.
a thing we don't like to do as humans. But I would,
Mm.
if I were to able to like impart something here, it would be for you to always try and understand the other person by putting yourself in their shoes and trying to see from
Mm.
their perspective, because it'll almost certainly every time be enlightening.
Mm. Got it. Got it. I mean, like, as a problem solver, as a leader of business trying to work with different people, B2B, B2C, all different things. I mean, this is one problem I didn't know the answer to. So is me. I didn't know how to bring these people together. Although the best way is to probably also not talk about it. I mean, like, no, do you support Biden or do you support Trump? I mean, you better not say it, right? But the moment you say it, the whole the other camp is like, do you support China or do you support US? I mean, you cannot really like say anything, but all humanity has got is like you can speak only so much, but there are certain things you cannot speak, and so there's a lot of problem, right? I mean, the transparency, it's kind of like you cannot really say what you mean, but at the same time you have to like absorb it just to work with society. Anyway, there are bigger problems I don't know the answer to. And the other problem I see is like there's a lot of innovation, Santeri. I mean, across, I'm sure, like China and so many others, like there are a ton of innovation, a lot of like AI and other things coming. But if someone asked me, or somewhere I saw where I picked this up, I mean, the problem of poverty still exists, even in the United States, even in Canada, even in Europe, even in Asia. So the divide between the divide and the gap has increased multifold now. When the market cap of companies grow by trillions of dollars, I'm sure like there are some shareholders who made a great fortune out of it. But so the gap is also growing. So poverty still doesn't seem to be fully addressed, even though there's a lot of productivity, efficiency, and everything. But the cost of the individual has not reduced. Actually, it has only gone up. I mean, fiat currency and inflation has a lot of things to add to this mix, but I don't know how to even address that. Because let's say someone owns I spoke to a Bitcoiner a while ago, and he said, like, if you owned, how do you retain value today? And I asked him this question, dude, like, you bought Bitcoin in 2013, and I mean, like, not me, but like many people have this feeling. Okay, had I bought Bitcoin, could I have, had I? So I didn't buy Bitcoin when it was 2012 or 2013. Many didn't, right? And had they bought it for $1,000 today, it's worth like probably millions of dollars, right? And he told me a fascinating answer in terms of like, uh, no, that's not how it is. It's actually, if you have $1,000 today, and if you want to put it, store the value today for $1,000, you can do that with Bitcoin and see it grow from there. You don't look past and not regret about it. So that is something I did like about this whole thing. How can we store value? Because like currency with today with fiat currency, if you're putting it in checking account in your banks, putting it $1,000, good luck. It'll probably in 5 years it'll probably be $300 or something. Who knows, right? So I was just like fascinated in terms of like how do we even like even like address to poverty, because like fiat currency is not controlled by people. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, currency debasement is happening
Yeah.
in real time. We're watching it
Right.
unfold. All the
Right.
money that we have in fiat, because they're printing so much more of it,
Mm-hmm.
is
Mm-hmm.
less and less valuable.
Right.
In order for us to be able to get every single human being to try and buy Bitcoin, for example. We're in a long road of education that needs to happen. I think we're going towards that way. What's incredible about Bitcoin, which I believe is one of the it's the first DeepIn that was built, right? And it is something that we can educate. You and I have the ability to educate others to be able to start understanding it in the way that we do, because once you understand it as a store of value and know
Right.
that this is not controlled by anybody, it's very hard for you to unsee that.
Yeah. Right.
But ultimately, when it comes to poverty, it's very hard for them to also access this today because they don't have the money. But one thing
Right.
has been improved, which is the ability to actually acquire Bitcoin rather than stocks, for example. One incredibly advantageous thing about Web3 and crypto is that you no longer need to buy one share of something. If you want a Tesla share, you have to buy the entire share, and you have to have $400 or $500 to be able to buy that. Bitcoin, you can buy $1 worth of it.
Right.
And
Right.
that's the power of fractionalizing the ownership of an asset, which is incredible. The same way with gold, for example. And that's why I think that this will surpass any other asset that we've created before this. But before people get to really get their hands on this, the world will change so dramatically that they won't probably have a chance, right? And so it comes down to the people who built this new technology and the new wealth generation that comes
Right.
with it to make sure that we create an equitable world. Because once AI accesses the physical world and we're going to be start replacing jobs, the level of productivity will be increasing so rapidly and the wealth generation will be so dramatic that we will have to find ways to share this with the rest of humanity. If not, we'll live in a very dystopian world. So everybody is kind of talking about UBI. I want to find another way of doing this, not just giving money out, because that's not educational. You don't really teach anybody by giving them the fish. You teach them by showing how to fish. And the fish in this story, to me, is data, right? So if we teach them what does it mean to own your own data, it's a lot more valuable than just saying, hey, here is your universal basic income. And so one of the things that I want to go out there and teach for the rest of my life is something called universal data sovereignty. The universal right for every human being to be owner of their spatial data and what you can do with it.
Right.
And so
Right.
we have to build first the critical infrastructure layer that hosts this, right? And this is the mission we're on. And I don't think there
Got it.
is a bigger mission in life right now than doing that.
Right. Right. Just another probably one or two questions, and we're right around wrapping it up. It is fascinating to talk to you today, and I was blown away. I mean, through your complete journey, man. What do you want to share in terms of the future with Aukey, post mesh, or spatial computing? What do you want to share with the world? Like, what do you want people to take away from this conversation?
Don't be afraid of what's coming. Try and learn as much as you can with every new development. Don't be overwhelmed. Be curious. Be an optimist, because this will change every single one of our lives. And now is one of the greatest times in human history for you to find a path, an opportunity to build something meaningful. Because now the building has actually become individual. We can all build the castles of our imagination on our own. We no longer need massive resources to do that. So go out there, be curious. You want to learn how all of this technology works so that it serves you and not the few.
Thank you for that question. On just a fun question. If Deepin or Aukey, you can interchange whatever you want with it, whether it's Deepin or Aukey. If Deepin were to be a superhero or an animal, what would it be? If Deepin were to be a superhero or an animal, what would it be? If you want to replace Aukey with Deepin, that's fine too. You're the guest.
I would say It's ants,
Mm,
an ant colony that
mm,
has a single purpose towards building a home for their queen to reproduce, and it's a chain of small little animals that can build something way bigger than themselves,
mm.
and it's coordinated in a way where they don't speak to each other and tell, hey, you got to do this or that. No, they coordinate as a mesh together to build towards a single purpose, and I think a deepen is exactly that.
Got it. Got it. Santeri, it was an absolute pleasure. Where can people find you?
You can find me on, if you want to see daily news about spatial computing, AI, and robotics, you can find that on Santeri_spatial on TikTok, Instagram, X, Santeri Aramo on X. You can also look at our company X account, Aukey network, and we post a ton there. You can find all our thoughts, and we build in public, so you can go into our GitHub as well. We're very open. You can always approach me. You can find my DM on my socials when you go out there and see the videos. Write to me if you have a brilliant idea. I'm very happy to listen to it and have a chat. You can also join our community at discord.gg/Aukeyverse. That's where we release our alpha, and we do weekly community updates that you can see on X and our community on Discord. So stay tuned, because we're at the cusp of seeing spatial computing be used across the board with all the new technologies that are coming out. And we're right at the forefront of it. And we might be able to inspire you to build something cool.
No, thank you, Santeri. I just want you to stay for a couple minutes until the recording updates, but I wanted to thank you on the recording. Like, thank you so much. I think it was a fascinating conversation. I mean, your journey from Finland to Spain to Hong Kong to Indonesia to New York and your trip to India. So it was such a fascinating conversation, and this thing about your mother, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you for sharing your journey and story today. I'm sure it'll inspire people who are listening. And I think there were different topics that we were able to cover today. There was like Deepin, there was Aukey, there was Post Mesh Network, there was spatial computing, Bitcoin, and the world and business, and so many different topics. That's why I love podcasts, like, because like you get in, you don't know what to expect, but you will always go with something nice, right? So that's the part I love. Thank you so much, Santeri. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.